I want to take us back to the issue of corruption that I was pointing out earlier. And the whistleblowers and witnesses often pay a high price for coming forward. Today, acting CFO in the Gauteng Department of Health, Babita Deokaran, is being laid to rest after she was killed outside her home on Monday. She died in a hail of bullets after guns were fired, or should I say gunshots were fired at her car. Now, Deokaran was among witnesses of an SIU investigation regarding PPE procurement at the Department of Health. Joining me now to talk about the history of corruption in this country are co-authors of the book Rogues Gallery. That's Nick Dall and Matthew Blackman, who both join me from the city of Cape Town. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. In that book, you state that this country, or perhaps I should capture it properly, state capture has been going on for over 350 years. Whistleblowing is something that should be welcomed just as it is in the United States. If this is something that the leadership of this country has been well aware of, why is it that whistleblowers do not enjoy protection whenever they do come out to say that there is corruption taking place in this or other platform? Talk to us about why it is that whistleblowers are not protected in this country.
Well, I think, I mean, this case with Babita is truly tragic. And in a way, I mean, one of the very first whistleblowers in our country was a guy called Adam Tuss and a bunch of other Freeburgers in Stellenbosch. And they blew the whistle on the state capture of Willem Adriaan van der Stel in 1705 and 1706. And they faced a pretty tough time when they blew the whistle. They were tortured. They were thrown into dungeons in the castle. They were forced to recant their accusations. But nobody was killed. And now we're looking at 320 years later, and someone who's just doing the right thing gets gunned down in her own driveway. I mean, we thought that 1705 was bad, so it's really scary that 2020 is worse. I don't think that it's that whistleblowers, they are protected according to the law. The PDA does have some protections for whistleblowers. I think the problem is that the governments are so invested in corruption and have been for successive, throughout Dutch rule, British rule, apartheid, etc. And it's just such an ongoing theme that it doesn't matter what the law says. The law on the street says a different thing. I don't know what Matthew would add to that.
Yeah, Matthew, pick up on that point from Nick, and perhaps tell us whether the death of Babita Deokaran is going to change anything at all in the attitude of those who are in authority about the protection of whistleblowers.
I mean, I would really hope that is the case. I have my doubts, however. I mean, it might shine a light on whistleblowing, a stronger light, but I don't think there will be much change as far as where we are with whistleblowing. I mean, one of the problems with whistleblowers is that they tend to be unpopular even after they've done these acts of bravery. They, because they supposedly speak out, institutions and organizations never enjoy people who stray from group loyalty. So, I think we are going to be stuck with this problem. And if we have the politics that we do have at the moment, and it continues, and I don't see how it's not going to continue, there is no bright hope in the future. I don't see how the situation is going to change. Hopefully what happened 2 days ago will shine a light on the issues of whistleblowing. But I must confess, I don't have much hope for it, just because of the nature of what whistleblowers do, and the nature of politics. The nature of politics is a kind of group loyalty activity, and nobody enjoys people speaking out, you know, no matter how just they are and no matter how good their cause.
Yeah.
You know, political parties and organizations always gang together to you know, to protect the group.
Yeah. Nick, I want to focus the discussion on the acting CFO of the Gauteng Health Department, Babita Deokaran. She is going to be laid to rest today. And this morning I was reflecting on the article that's written in the Business Day by Nicole Fritz, who captures what I thought was the essence of the kind of trouble that Miss Deokaran seemingly had gotten herself into, because apart from being suspended at the height of the PPE corruption, and it would seem this was before the actual scandal broke, she was being pressured. She was being pressured to make sure that the people that were or that had bid for these tenders to provide PPE, they are paid. And so because there were clearly delays, she gets put out. In fact, she even gets taken to some department in Johannesburg as opposed to the provincial government. And so the essence of what Nicole Fritz says towards the end of the article is that today, as Deokaran is probably going to have many colleagues descend to her home in KwaZulu-Natal, there are going to be health officials or the Gauteng health government officials who are going to go there, cry tears, even though they know that they did not protect her because they knew that she was being harassed. This government has come on the ticket of fighting corruption. Should it be believed, Nick?
Yeah, I think this is, as Matthew was saying, this is the problem with blowing the whistle. When the reaction, the instant knee-jerk reaction to someone kicking up a fuss is to shut them up, to institute sort of bogus charges, to put them through hearings, to pressure them to shut up. This is like the absolute worst, most tragic end result of it all. But you see similar things going on which don't end in death, but a similar kind of progression. This is how we treat whistleblowers. And should this government, the anti-corruption thing, I think some members of the government are anti-corruption, but I do think that the waters are too muddied for them to be able to pull it off. It just seems like there are too many skeletons in the closet to really clean it up.
Yeah. Matthew, let me personalize it a bit. Let me personalize it. And I go back to that article by Nicole Fritz. She quotes the Gauteng Premier, David Makura, on the back of the shooting of Babita Deokaran. And she quotes him as saying these words: Deokaran took to heart the call to bring perpetrators of corruption to book. The result of her good deeds led to successful dismissals within the department and saw the institution of civil claims to recover public funds from business, government officials responsible for malfeasance and corruption. These sentiments from the Premier, do they come a little too late, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they really do. I mean, you know, one of the issues that again has sort of raised its head is you know, the issue of women. And actually, you know, one of the tragic aspects of whistleblowing is that actually, as far as the academic research into it is concerned, it shows that women are always treated worse than men. They are always retaliated against in a much harder, way than men ever are. And I mean, what has happened is actually the most sort of tragic outcome of that retaliation. It seems. I mean, certainly, if that is proved to be the case. But yes, it's too late. I think the sentiment of many people around the country is that and not enough has been done, and when it is done, it is too late.
Matthew, perhaps, or rather Nick, let's wrap up the discussion and try and look ahead. This is one of the most tragic incidents to occur, particularly around a person that was doing good for the South African public. You have many of the other whistleblowers that have even gone to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry that is now wrapping up its work. Cynthia Stimple, she was on this channel yesterday saying that she's actually very angry at the president, who, it would seem to her, does not mind dishing out platitudes, but as far as doing something about the protection of whistleblowers, which he has spoken about, there doesn't seem to be anything that is being done. Concluding this conversation, Nick, tell us about whether the whistleblowers deserve more in this country, and I even include in this the witness protection program, which is not trusted, by the way, by even some who have been pursued politically. I can think of one gentleman from KZN who actually had to go to court to force the police minister and his accounting officer to give him protection. And he actually decided that I'm not actually going to take this up because I simply don't trust it. Where to for whistleblowers?
Yeah, I think our witness protection program has a lot of problems, especially when you've got people at Zondo who willfully mention the names of witnesses who shouldn't be mentioned. If your cover can be blown on national TV, what hope is there? And we owe whistleblowers so much because throughout our history, for 350 years, we've had all these corrupt leaders, and whistleblowers have time and again stood up. And I do agree with Cynthia. We've actually been talking to her this week about this very issue. And I think President Ramaphosa he's well known for taking his time over things and saying that things will change and dragging his heels. But, if you've got someone who's gunned down in her driveway for simply standing up for doing the right thing, I don't think that's a time to be dragging your heels. In America, whistleblowers, they not only have more protection, but they actually receive financial compensation. They get a cut of the money they save the country. And I think that's something we need to consider. In this country, whistleblowers are associated with being impimpis, traitors, but they're actually the opposite. They're upholding the good, not the bad. And we need to respect them.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. Nick Dall and Matthew Blackman, the co-authors of the book Rogues Gallery, documenting the history of corruption of South Africa. Thank you very much indeed for your insights.